Everybody, back again at the Rhode Island shore in my car still. Like I say, I get a little feedback on that. Who's the guy in the car? I think that's pretty funny. I'm just sitting here unexpectedly. Joshua's asked me to just sit down and be willing to make a recording, so I'm going to do that. Don't really have any idea what he's going to talk about, as is often the case. And so, without further ado, let's just begin. I'll start with a prayer. I'll just make it a silent prayer, and then after that, he'll begin. So. Indeed, beloved friends, we come together once again for the one thing that has value, and that is joining. True joining, true relationship, remembers God. One could say it takes members, aspects, parts of God, which you are, and puts them back together in a sense that is remembering, putting God back together. Now, this is only from a certain perspective, because God is not split. But in what you call the dream, there has been the perception of separation, the projection of many thoughts, conclusions, ideas, traumas, and so on upon the world, upon the movie screen, which is the world. You are projecting the film upon it and calling it reality. And in that dream that you are having, it is a difficult word because people have associations with dream. It is more like you are assuming and believing something that is not real and acting as if it is so without questioning it. That is the dream we are speaking of. Oh, there is something outside of me affecting me. That is a dream. It is an illusion. There is nothing outside of you affecting you. You are all part of the one. There are many different ways of explaining it with language, but you will know it when you experience it. And you experience it whenever there is genuine relationship, connection in relationship, in loving, and it is called holy relationship. It means that there is a wholeness occurring in a remembrance of what you are. And you remember what you are when you connect with, commune with, connect with, in relationship through genuine loving communion with another, whether it be another person or a place, thing, and so on. Your dog. Whatever it may be. There is, therefore, unlimited possibilities for the expression of joy in God's infinite and perfect creation. And every relationship offers that opportunity forever. And so we come together to celebrate, to remember the truth, to remember God. For in bringing it back together, we also come to a more traditional, definition of remembrance, which is the mind recognizes something again. Oh yes, I remember that. You remember it by coming together in relationship, through presence. And you recognize that love is real. Love is real. Therefore, why would you spend time doing anything else? That is a good question to ask. Well, you have your games. And being the holy child of God, your games are bold and broad. And so, like your hide-and-seek game, you come and there was an excitement at being found that would not have been there if you had not chosen to go hide in the closet for a while. Or go hide in the dream of separation. So many different variations of remembrance can be experienced. Many different variations of remembrance. Your world is going through what could be called a cleansing period, in which discernments are being made through experience, and this is a global event, of what true remembrance is and what true remembrance is not. There have been great divisions, but each of those divisions are because a loyalty is being given to a certain type of idea which seems to be in conflict with another. Ultimately, and this can take some time, as well you know, the experience of all of these different separations, let us put it that way, these fragmentations, this belief in separate interests is a good way to put it, yes? These ones are the Republicans, these ones are the Democrats, these ones are someone else. And we have separate interests, is the perception. Or these ones are Americans and these ones are whatever. We have separate interests. These are the black ones or the red ones or the white ones. We have separate interests. Men and women, separate interests. Adults and children, separate interests. Friends and family, separate interests. This is the perception, the dream that you have chosen to imagine. And over time, through communion, and this is the message of this time, that if you wish to speed this up, engage more directly in the remembrance, remember more quickly, by being willing to reach out, particularly to those who you feel are different and have separate interests from yours. That you might speed up what can be a very long process of learning that you do not have separate interests. We invite you to begin at the end in a sense. I know that I do not have separate interests. Let me find out how that is true with whatever group it is that I have decided that I have separate interests from. Then in that way there is remembrance of your truth, that you do not have separate interests from others, and it becomes your extrapolation, it is called, that you eventually realize in lived experience that you do not have separate interests from God. But what about free will? They will say, Jeshua. Well, free will does not mean you have separate interests. Free will does not mean that God's will is somehow opposed. That is part of the dream, to believe this. Only love is real. The belief in duality is like, I have this separate interest from God. No. It could be called the fundamental error. The dream of separate interests, the belief in separate interests. Your interests and God's are never separate. Your interests in your brothers or your sisters or the tree down the street are never separate. There is one thing expressing itself, and part of that expression is this illusion of separate interests. Quite clever. And if you wish to speed up is a term we have used, but we would also say create grace. A graceful flow, perhaps, is a graceful and rapid flow of transformation of your planet. Remember always there are no separate interests. You cannot see truly if you are perceiving another to have a separate interest from you. Now, they will believe that they do. But if you also believe that they do, then you are lost. And it does not mean, oh my goodness, Jeshua, I am lost. Is that it forever? No, you are just lost in that moment. You have just forgotten to remember. Therefore, remember by reaching out, by seeking to speak the language of the one you are with, to put yourself in their shoes. You might say, if I were in their shoes and had their experience, I would be having the same experience and beliefs they are. And it is very true. For you are made of the same substance. God does not create unequally. And each of you have the capacity within you to overcome the boundaries and the barriers and the seeming obstacles to communion, to remembrance. Therefore, if you wish to serve the awakening of mankind, make it a point the next day or so, but then as a continuing practice, if you choose to find those who appear to have separate interests from yours. Perhaps they are agitating to you. And take the time. Breathing is good, yes? To put the attention on what is occurring, and the breath is always occurring. Therefore, 100% attention on the next breath. Father, mother, how might I see my brother or sister in a more complete way? How might I remember the truth that I and they and I are one? It is an odd expression, they are one. Well, what does that mean? I have a body, they have a body, we're not one. Think of it this way when I say they are one. You share the same interests, however it might seem otherwise. You and your brothers and your sisters and this beautiful planet and the Father and the Mother and all the angelic realms and the saints and so on, all beings share the same interests. To believe otherwise is to dream. And to remember this is indeed to awaken. And to, after awakening, it is not just about awakening, it is about awakening and then living your beautiful day in the kingdom of heaven. And with that, we complete this sharing. Amen.